Okay, good evening. It is March 14th, 2023. It is 6:35. We're starting a little late tonight for the board meeting due to some technical issues, but this is the time and place for the Northern Lebanon School District regular board meeting for March, and I'll call this meeting to order. I would just like to announce before we continue that the board just met an executive session with our solicitor to discuss emerging issues under the law and strategies that we may need to face as a district going forward. At this point, we will start with the flag salute. Director Bucks. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Martin, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Bucks. Here. England.
Present.
Fowler.
Present.
Williams.
Here.
Murray. Here. Klein.
Present.
Erdman.
Here.
Marlowe.
Here.
Nom.
Present.
All members present.
Great, thank you. We will move to the adoption of tonight's agenda. Everyone has an opportunity to review the agenda. It was published prior to the meeting. Is there a motion to adopt this evening's agenda?
To approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please indicate with a yes or an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We'll move to the presentations portion of this evening's meeting. First, like to announce that the high school students of the month for March are Madison Hess and Colin Wall. This award is sponsored jointly by the Fredericksburg and Jonestown Lions Clubs, and each recipient will be recognized at a future meeting of the Lions Club. Are either of those students here tonight? I don't believe so. The middle school student of the month for March is Olivia Hansel. This award is sponsored by the Northern Lebanon County Rotary Club, and the recipient will be recognized at a future meeting of the Rotary Club. So congratulations to those students. The next presentation is the student council representative, Alex Selby. Good to see you, Alex.
So last month we had King of Hearts. We raised over $2,000 for cancer research for that. Campbell Bomberger won. He raised $750. How King of Hearts works is the person who raises the most money is crowned, not popular vote. Student Council is going to be attending a leadership conference at Cedar Crest on the 31st. And we're also planning to have the Powder Puff football game on April 21st from 6 to 8. That's all.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll move to, we have a report from Mrs. Stevani.
I guess I need to do that, don't I? Yeah. So I'm working with Lauren Bruce to kick off a Vikings takeover with the Lancaster Barnstormers. And that event is going to be on, I'm waiting for the PowerPoint to come up. So that's going to be on June 3rd. She started the process with their representative from them. And essentially what it is they're going to allow us to come and take over like greeting. We're going to be able, our students, if you want to just go ahead to the next slide. I already said that stuff. So students will get, we talked with Mr. Poole, who is going to bring it to the rest of the music department to see if a group of students can sing. And this can be elementary through high school, sing and perform for the national anthem. They also said we could do other songs of our choice. And then they'll be able to be part of the tunnel, like when the baseball team comes out, so to cheer them on when they're coming on the field. And then there's a thing they call Field of Dreams, which when we do the national anthem, when the national anthem happens, students get to stand with their favorite player of choice to participate in that. And so those are the ways that our students can participate in this event. And like I said, it's K through 12. So we're hoping to really drum up a lot of interest between now and then. We're also going, I think that's later, but we're going to reach out to like youth sports and stuff too. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So one of the ways that we also are hoping, because we feel like it's going to be really easy to get the younger kids on board with this, but the older kids don't always bite at these kind of opportunities. So one way we get to throw the first pitch. And Lauren and I thought that it would be really fun for the kids to get to nominate their favorite teacher to throw out the first pitch. And we're creating a shirt that hopefully everyone will be able to wear or can purchase to wear to the event. And so we know that some teachers like myself, like if I was nominated, no way, I'm not throwing a baseball, but they can, so everyone who gets nominated will get a free t-shirt, but then they can opt to have their name taken out of the hat. But we thought that would be a really fun way to get secondary students excited about the event as well. Go ahead to the next slide. Oh, there. So the really cool thing is they are giving all staff and students a free ticket to the event, and friends and family get discounted tickets. We are still waiting to confirm that rate, but pretty much anyone who says they're there for NL will get a discounted price. And then also just an added bonus is that proceeds from the evening, a portion of them will come back to us. And that's something else that we're gonna have to talk about how we want to use, but that's also like a nice little perk of the event. And it's just a way for us to bring the students and the community together and try to just really build connections and relationships with everyone, and to spend time outside of this environment and just to see each other in a different way. So Lauren and I are really excited, and we're really hoping to get a lot of interest among, with everyone, including like youth sports and the schools. So hopefully you guys can all make it too. They did leave us, Lauren asked for some swag. So I don't know if you noticed your spatulas, but so that's what came. Oh yeah. So this is their little swag as a thank you to us for doing this, and a thank you to you guys.
Does
that mean we're grilling at the
It-
ballpark?
if you open it up, it is engraved with Lancaster Barnstormers on the wooden handle.
Yeah, it actually looks pretty cool. Thank
I
you.
have it on the, Mrs. Tavani, just while I'm thinking of it, have Dr. Kuiper, if you get in touch with him, reach out to the youth group sooner rather than later, because they probably haven't finished schedules yet. So hopefully they can avoid a bunch of games that night
Okay.
so that the kids can attend. Particularly, I'm thinking Little League, there's so many teams, and that's probably a night that they would typically have a lot of things. So the sooner we can get that out to them, the better probably. But thank you for helping us organize this. It's going to be, I'm excited about it.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah, thank you. Great report. Appreciate it. Okay, superintendent's report, Dr. Messinger.
A couple of things. I'm going to start out with, if you got to see the musical last week, I thought it was fantastic. I thought maybe one of the deepest, talented in terms of singing that I've seen here. A lot of times we'll have, the leads, but this was throughout pervasive that we have some really talented kids. It was fantastic. And I know that from what I understand, I know Friday night was really well attended. Saturday night was really well attended, but I heard Sunday was as well. And I think Thursday, which is maybe the lesser of the nights, had a pretty good crowd. So that was neat. And they did a great job with that. Also want to recognize Saturday. I was able to get to the Giant Center to watch Aaron Seidel wrestle and won his second consecutive state championship. An impressive feat. We'll certainly invite him. I know last year he couldn't come because he was practicing, but maybe he can join us. And lastly, for me, and then Leanne's going to give us an update too. Dr. Bucks, you had talked about the building. I hope that what we decided to do is going to be helpful. On the website under construction is a new tab, and it's called the Elementary School Countdown. It lists all the things that are being done in March and then predicted for April, May, June, and July. Each month, Lauren and I will go and take pictures of those things. So there are approximately 8 to 10 pictures up there for the month of March. It includes the cabinetry that's being installed in the 5th and 6th grade wing, some painted rooms that we have in the other wings, and a variety of different things that are listed there. I was asked the question, do I think the building's going to be done? And I thought we had our meeting today. mostly everything is right now on track. I feel good about just about everything. I think it comes down to, you've heard me say this before, I'm going to say it again. We're going to be sitting, probably I'll be in Brad's office or he'll be in mine, watching anything we can find that has UPS tracking numbers on it to see if the very last electrical piece has shipped. If that's the case, it will come in several days and it will take 2 weeks and we should be up and running. If it doesn't come, then one of us is.
That's July 4th, right? Fireworks, that's what you're gonna be doing.
It doesn't come, we're going to be crying. No, so to be honest, I can't answer the final question until then. What I can answer is that so far, the most recent reports are the electrical things have shipped either very close to the date. I think the last one was 2 days off. So, and everything else is on a pretty good track. So, but we thought the website might be helpful and a place for people to send people if they ask you how the new building's coming along. And Leanne, you want to take over?
Sure. Once again, if you look at your monthly reports that were attached, the categorized expense summary and also in the budget summary comparison, you'll see that there was under the other category a large increase this month, and that is because we made a rather large bond payment, which we only do twice a year. So that is why you see a sudden jump there for February. It was almost $2 million, I believe. So you can definitely see that. It'll stick out in the reports if you look over those. And then there is another report that is new that I wanted to draw your attention to, and that is the cash flow balances. So we have begun taking a little more proactive approach on our investing. And as you can see on this, we outlined all of the current cash within the district and where it is at and which banks and what the interest is that we are earning on it. So as you can see there, the one that you had approved a month ago for us to invest at Pliget, we have a 180-day term and a 365-day term there. Not sure we locked in the 365-day term because the way Pliget works is they need to have a certain amount of funds. And for the 365-day term, it requires $5 million in funds from other districts combined with ours. And I don't know that they got that. And since rates seem to be dropping, we did give them a go ahead that if it worked out and they couldn't get that much, to throw that into the 180-day term as well before rates dropped on us too much. And one other thing I wanted to draw your attention to that changed since we did this report is we met with First Citizens Community Bank, because we do always like to stay local if possible, and let them know that we were going to be starting to invest with other with financial institutions. And they did take that money market for us up to a 4%. So that was a significant increase coming out of that meeting with them. So that was nice of First Citizens Community Bank to want to work with us. And they always also support our foundation very actively. So First Citizens Community Bank, just wanted to give them a thank you on that. And one last thing, we have a conference we're going to. This is a little bit of a business office update with our personnel. We are going to a conference this week at PASBO, and one of our financial specialists in our office applied for a scholarship to PASBO that is new for anyone that's within their first year of school business. And since Linda fell into that, her last name, Kubica. I know I say it wrong. She corrects me every time. So anyway, she applied for the scholarship, and congratulations to her because she was awarded the scholarship. So she is attending PASBO with free room, free meals, and also to the conference at no charge to the district. So just wanted to give a little congratulations to Linda. She is not here because she had to go up for obligations earlier. She has, I think, an event tonight and early tomorrow morning, a breakfast for first timers. So that is where she is at, that she couldn't be here to hear me say that. But thank you.
And just to update on the budget, we're in pretty good shape in terms of being ready for next month. So we'll have a lot of information for you next month. Leanne was putting some finishing touches on things, but we were in pretty good shape as we received budgets. So we feel good about that as well. So we'll have that for you in April. That's the end of our report.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Is there any old business tonight? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the public input portion of the meeting. According to policy 903, all individuals wishing to participate in the meeting were asked to register their intent with the board secretary by 3 p.m. Today, including the name of the participant, the topic to be addressed, and group affiliation. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface their comments by an announcement of their name and group affiliation if applicable. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 4 minutes duration. I will interrupt speakers at about the 30-second mark just to give you an idea of how much time you have left. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic unless all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question school directors individually. I understand that we have 2 items for public comment this evening. The first one is a leftover from last week's meeting. Mr. Scott Furman, is he here? Oh, great. Thank you, Mr. Furman. And as soon as you give your name, I'll start your time.
Both. Oh, thank you. Both refueling outage and online. And additionally, I had emergency response position, which was the damage control communicator for the site. That being said, I got tied into a program called Stop the Bleed. Has any of you heard of it before? Perfect. So Stop the Bleed comes from the event that happened at Sandy Hook. So 26 folks died, 20 of them were children. And based on the data that the Hanford consensus collected, they found that a program needed to be developed to enhance the general public's ability to respond. And it's 3 simple techniques: direct pressure, packing the wound, and or tourniquet. That's it. Every one of those folks would have been saved. I've been working with Michelle and Gary, the superintendent, and I found that the safety committee has contacted Amy from the Hershey Medical Center to get your staff trained. Highly recommended. One of the things that I learned at the training was it's a higher probability that I'm going to use the tourniquet on myself than anyone else. But just the same, it takes an hour and a half, get an hour of classroom, you get a half an hour of practical, which includes a mannequin that sure feels like the inside of someone's leg.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn the different techniques on how to mitigate the life-threatening blood loss. Death will occur in 5 minutes. And the more folks, when the report was published, that my talking points, there were 15,000 ordinary people trained. It's in 2017. I participated in 2 different sessions already. And after the second session, which was held at the Belgrove Fire Company, I learned that my school district hasn't been trained, which is why I'm here. I can't stress enough that every one of you, given the opportunity, seek the opportunity to take the training.
30 seconds.
And if you're interested, I have additional information. I would be happy to share with you all contact information for Amy from the trauma group. And she will get you hooked up as soon as they fill the full-time position. And I will be encouraging Amy and her boss to fill the position so that you all can get trained. Are there any questions for me?
Scott, I just want to say that Tyler in the green shirt over there is actually our safety committee member who's responsible for working to set this up. I don't know if have you been able to connect with Amy yet? Okay. All right. I don't know.
You're yeah, Tyler, what the heck? Where? Right. Good deal. Mm-hmm. Oh, that is fabulous. I can't, it's my whole life I spent ready.
Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I have a question. Is this something that we could set up to and allow the community to be involved in as well? Or would that be too large a scale for us to tackle?
Oh, no.
I contacted going to different options. One option is go with Dolphins. The fire company.
Hmm.
Fire company because of scheduling. To do that. Some people do. Really. They are. Glad you pay it, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Second participant for public comment this evening is Mrs. Rachel Sekelic. Mrs. Sekelic, your time will start as soon as you state your name. Okay, all statements should be directed to the presiding officer. That's me. No participant may address or question school directors individually. That's policy 903. Correct.
Almost pricing ourselves out of the problems. So I mean, if we price ourselves just right, it might inhibit some of those outside groups if that caused the issue. Inhibit means to prevent. So which groups? Where's the list of problems these groups cause while using our facilities? Judging which taxpayers get to use facilities they paid for based on income is illegal. A bias based on income is economic discrimination. So which groups? You'll never define that group. That group has to be interchangeable to whichever community member you're talking to. As long as they're mad at that group, they won't see the hidden agendas in front of them. If I sound angry, it's because I am. I'm the angriest at myself. I looked past the hidden agendas of some people, or remained silent when I should have done more. 8 years ago, I called out abuse of power. I'm standing here because once again, a school board director is abusing the seat they hold. Director Klein obviously had a falling out with his former friend of convenience that was confirmed the time Director Erdman let the name Rizzo slip out.
I will caution
That friendship is no longer convenient. I did not ask them a question to direct Klein, and he wants Rizzo out.
Okay.
But he's not even thinking about the kids on that team. They never do. But this time it's not just a coach, it's our kids on that team too. I'm angry I helped get seats to people who never wanted the corruption to stop. They just wanted their turn with the power. These youth sports groups feed our school teams, and these seats have been used to ensure kids they want, the parents they like, and the coaches they're buddies with get first choice. Screw the rest of the unlucky kids who get put up on teams with coaches not rubbing the right shoulders. We start out as parents cheering on both teams when our kids are little. Then this system puts the teams against the team and coach against coach. It rips our community apart. These seats are paid for in favors just to buy a vote on the real things that matter in our school, because instead of focusing on the schools, superintendents and teachers will spend more time figuring out how they can stay on the board's good side. This way, you can all pretend to be a team of 10 while your real intentions get hidden behind the fires that you helped start. Because bigotry, prejudice, and any method used to judge taxpayers based on their income, family name, or a mistake they made 20 years ago isn't the job of the school board. Ask a single board member how much we spend on unnecessary federal or state mandates. Then ask how many times they've lobbied to have those mandates funded by the state instead of the local property taxes. Heck, back, ask them how many mandates we even have to pay for. They'll have to look it up, but they know which people they can use to get field time, new band directors, jobs for family members, and favors to keep their people happy. Instead of feeling relieved when nobody showed up to the workshop where we silently accepted a max increase for multiple years, we should have prepared the public. We could easily stream those workshops like we do the meetings, but instead of helping people prepare for the impact of multiple max index increases and possible exceptions because of the new build, you blame the very taxpayer for not caring enough to show up. That's how you keep your conscience clear. You blame the taxpayers for not caring enough. People barely surviving everything life is throwing at them shouldn't have to babysit people they elected. And now some of those same taxpayers getting hit with the tax increase will pay even more because of field increases, just so their kids can enjoy the one thing they could barely afford already. It will take the sports complex, Prevail, or any profit business raising their prices once to price out hundreds of kids we've already priced out or kicked out of our facilities. Now kids don't even have the escape of enjoying a sport they loved. Why don't you talk about that factor when you discuss why participation is so low in our sports programs? Sports are already too expensive for most of our own community members. Being able to afford sports equipment, group fees, travel fees, and the times that of work and gas to get to the games is already a privilege that many in our district cannot afford. Yes, there's always hidden agendas, but allowing these seats to continue having the power to destroy lives while doing nothing for the greater good for taxpayers is at an all-time high. They aren't even trying to hide it. Last May might we paved the way for future favor payments. And then 2 other board members found a way to benefit from that too. Now it's banning a play so that another board member
30 seconds.
child can participate, because it's not really about respect and integrity. And the only assumed expectation we have of this district is that it serves board members' hidden agendas. The play must be stopped, because if it isn't, his kid can't be in the public, needs to do that favor. There's so much more, but you guys limit the taxpayers that you are bleeding to 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Their lives are falling apart, and you are raising a fee on the only thing they can say yes to their kids to still.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, we will move to the consent agenda for this evening. It should be noted that public notice was given for this meeting in accordance with Act 84 of 1986. By notice of the president, the following action requires a voice vote. All votes in favor shall be stated with an aye or yes. All votes opposed shall be stated with a nay or no. All members abstaining shall state I abstain when prompted. The votes will be recorded in the minutes as a unanimous roll call vote unless there are any votes in opposition or abstention. If necessary, the president may subsequently call for a roll call vote to be recorded in the minutes. We'll move to item 8. Dr. Messinger.
I ask that you approve the consent calendar as presented.
Let me just go through all of them.
Hmm?
You want to go through all the section 8?
We don't typically. Not the consent calendar.
Okay.
I can
Oh,
if
thank you.
want.
That's just for the consent. Yeah,
Just
thank
for the
you.
consent.
Okay,
calendar.
Thank you. Yes, is there a motion to adopt tonight's consent calendar?
So move.
Is there a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving tonight's consent calendar, please indicate with a yes or an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously, and I apologize for the confusion there. All right, now we'll move to the discussion agenda. This is item 9 on your agenda.
Yep, now I'll go one at a time.
Yeah.
The first one is the spring musical. For some discussion at the committee meeting. I'll allow you to continue to discuss that and decide about approval of that musical for 2024.
Okay, are there any questions for the superintendent before we take a motion on the musical? Okay, is there a motion to adopt item 9.1?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Open it up to the board.
I like to make a comment.
Yes, Director Williams.
In full disclosure, when reading the script for this proposed musical, I tried to remain objective and not allow any presupposition influence me. However, I have a Christian lens through which I view the world. Thus, regardless of the context, it's my Christ-like values that lead my thought and decision-making processes. So I just say that as a disclosure. I will admit that this musical fits within the context of the original television series that ran for 2 seasons in the mid 1960s, and the subsequent spin-off movies and specials since then. I also understand that this musical has become the #1 choice of schools in America. However, the question at hand is this musical appropriate for the students, faculty, staff, parents, and community at large of the Northern Lebanon School District? And the answer is no. To expound upon a quote from Director England's comments last week, if we promote it, we permit it. There are a number of songs, scenes, and lines or phrases in this musical that I do not want to promote within our district. Additionally, I would not want to give any sort of perception to our students as well as faculty that the suggestive behavior and language, illicit content, and dark themes present in this musical would be welcomed or permitted behavior within our schools and community. From my understanding, the musicals and plays at Northern Lebanon High School have been exceptional during the past number of years. And having performed in plays and musicals myself during my high school years, I know the amount of work and the amount of commitment that's required to produce and perform a quality show. I had the wonderful privilege of experiencing the talent and commitment of our students and staff at the Sunday showing of Little Mermaid. We can be very proud of the overall production and individual performances, and they have my 100% support. And if possible, I would love for those seniors to be able to come to a future meeting so that we can congratulate them in person for their excellent work. As I'm watching this remarkable performance take place with my 11-year-old daughter, it dawned on me, would I have the same kind of experience appreciation if it were this proposed musical? And would I bring my then 12-year-old daughter along with me to see that musical? I don't believe I would be able to do that. Not only is this proposed musical inappropriate, I say it would tarnish the reputation that our staff and students have built during the last number of years of performing wonderful musicals and other performances here at the school.
Great. Thank you, Director Williams. Any other comments? Director Marlowe.
Yeah, while can you hear me? Okay. Well, I think, this musical is not, it's intended to have some comedy in it. I don't think it represents the culture that we're trying to build here, or the climate. And we've put a lot of work into that in the past couple of years. So I wouldn't recommend us doing it because of that. That's part of it. I would agree with Director that I couldn't take my kids to it. I do think in this setting, in a school setting, I mean, we are. It is not just the students; they're not just mature high school students that are practicing this. This is open to public. We oftentimes bring middle school or elementary school kids into these productions as well, and obviously parents will bring kids to it as well. The themes are just dark in general, and if you do permit it, you promote it. So I do agree with that. I'll share just a couple items that I pulled from it, and I do appreciate. I think most of the directors here did get a chance to read the actual script. So thank you for doing that, because I think we had a summary and we owe it to all sides to make sure we've read the whole thing. So I know some rushed this weekend to make sure we could read it, but thanks for doing that. But nonetheless, I mean, some of the themes in here, if you haven't read it, just a couple that I'll share. Darkness, grief, and unspeakable sorrow. That's what every Adams hopes for. So that's kind of the theme that we're going for. You smile a bit when you smell blood. I like the part about being locked up. There's songs about killing, KILLING. There's comments like this: Florida, a hostile land infested with mosquitoes, rattlesnakes, and many retired Jews. I mean, these are not themes that we as a school would permit. We wouldn't allow students to say these things in class, walking down the hallway. And so I don't think we should put it out there from a public standpoint as well. There's scenes of children smoking and justifying it, that they're doing it because they are stressed. references to liking torture or self-harm. I mean, these are the things that today's students are fighting with. And we're making light of it a little bit and or promoting it because we're presenting it out there. Yep. Comments like you could just go away and die. Again, these themes, and I could go through the rest of them, but there are many themes in this play that do not represent Northern Lebanon or this community. While it is art, this is a school, and I think the audience that we are presenting to deserves something different than this. And I would also agree, any of the plays I've been to, plays, musicals here, they have been fabulous. So I know we can do a good one. I think the content of this is just not representative of our culture.
Thank you, Director Marlowe. Any other comments? Director England.
So I do agree that this musical reflects our current culture, but I have bigger dreams for NL than just reflecting more of that. I believe we have the opportunity and the obligation to be countercultural and to raise the standard and send our graduates out from NL who will embrace the values that we want them to on the Viking pride posters that we have around the school. If we approve this musical and at the same time say we're committed to improving the culture of NL, I think we're signaling that we're not really that serious about the cultural improvement that we talk about. If there's a gap between policy or priorities and practice, one of them needs to change. And in this case, I don't think it's our priority for improved culture. You know, we've talked repeatedly about the challenges that we face as a public school when it comes to alternative options for education, such as the cyber charter schools. I firmly believe that if we approve this musical, we will be weakening our argument that families should trust us with their kids' education. And my fear is that our new elementary school will be too big.
Great. Thank you, Director England. Any other comments?
I have some comments.
Yes, Director Bucks.
I very much support the request of our drama club director to perform The Addams Family next spring. And I have a lot of comments. I will try to keep them brief, but they fall into three reasons why I think we should support this request. One, nobody knows our kids' talents, our community, and their audience better than our director and the team around her. Nobody thinks about the audience and their experience more than the director. Nobody thinks about choosing a type of show more than a director does. That's one of the significant investments they do before there's even thought of an audition. And I think we need to honor the experience, the talent, and the wisdom that our director and her group has. And I'll expand upon these, but my second reason is that every musical could be interpreted as offensive or immoral or make a certain person or group of people uncomfortable. I fully believe there is not a single musical where some school board member somewhere will speak out against and have a reason that is very convicting to them why that certain musical should not be done. And three, I think our community will like it. I think they will find it funny and entertaining because communities all around us have enjoyed this show. And I have a whole long list that I will read of schools and theaters that have performed this. Year after year, neighboring schools are doing this show that their neighboring school did. And I know that the theater community is a tight-knit community. And if there were problems, if there were outraged audiences, they would know about it and they would warn their fellow directors, stay away from the show because people don't like it. And that certainly does not appear to be the case. So I'm going to go back around. Last week, we talked about attracting students into our extracurriculars. And I have heard that students want to do this show. We know that the Netflix show Wednesday is highly popular. And so if students are really interested in this and our director knows that the talents of our students fit the vocal needs and the personalities involved in this show, I think that's a great connection. if students are excited about this type of show, not all students, especially not all high school students, really love Disney and Disney characters. And so this might attract a different set of students who maybe were not previously involved in the drama club. When I read the senior bios in this year's program, one senior in particular was not involved in the drama club until Grease, and that particular show attracted her to being a part of the drama club. And so I think this has the potential to attract more students into the program and grow the program. I really think that we need to honor the talent and the expertise of our director and the team around her. My second point was that I believe that every musical could be interpreted as offensive or immoral. So as individual board members, some of us might take issue with some of the lines or themes of this show, but we heard earlier in our legal workshop that we need to not make decisions based solely on our personal beliefs, but what is in the best interest of the district as a whole. I think for every musical, you could name something that could be offensive. In Grease, we had an entire, and I love all of these shows, don't get me wrong, but I'm just trying to make examples of how things could be interpreted in an offensive way. But in Grease, there was an entire song about teenagers potentially making out. Some people might think that that is inappropriate in a school setting, or that might be offensive. In The Little Mermaid, which I loved that show as well, this involved a daughter defying her father, risking both of their lives and giving up her voice for somebody she doesn't even know. Some people might be offended by those themes as well. In Annie and Anne of Green Gables, two seemingly very wholesome musicals, they both involve children in the child welfare system. So kids who have been in a foster care situation or been in those types of situations might stir up a lot of very significant emotions for them. And so that could be a reason why to not do those seemingly very wholesome musicals. And I am not at all suggesting that they are inappropriate and shouldn't be done in our schools, but I'm trying to make the point that no matter what musical we would choose, somebody somewhere is going to have discomfort with it. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's inappropriate for the entire school and the entire community. I do think our community will like this. It's different. Different isn't always bad. It's weird, it's quirky, but that's what the Addams Family is. The Addams Family musical has been the most popular high school musical in 2019 and 2020 across the country, and it has been in the top 10 in the last decade. This is not in places other than Pennsylvania. This is our neighbors. So Cedar Crest High School did this in 2021. Hershey High School did this in 2020. Kutztown School District did it last year in their newly renovated auditorium. And there are quotes of rave reviews from school board members and the superintendent, and it was a packed house. Lower Dolphin did this show in 2016. Susquehanna did it in 2015. Cumberland Valley in 2019. Harrisburg Christian Performing Arts Group performed the Addams Family in 2017. Dauphin County Technical School performed this in 2018. Capital Area School for the Arts performed this last year. Several schools in Lancaster County also performed the Addams Family. Hempfield in so the first three are all last year. Hempfield, Octorara, Penn Manor in 2022. Ephrata performed it 3 years prior in 2019, and Lancaster High School in 2017. In addition, there are a number of Catholic schools that have performed this. They're not as local because there aren't as many Catholic schools, but St. Joseph High School in 2020, Holy Family Regional Catholic School in 2018, and Our Lady of Sacred Heart High School in 2015. So I think that this is something that communities enjoy. It's different. It will attract students. There were a few things that kind of came to light to me that I think we could change the wording on. One, Director Marlowe mentioned the reference to Jewish families. There was another reference to Jehovah's Witnesses, that Wednesday was scaring them. And I think just as a whole, it's never good, even if you're trying to joke about entire religions or entire groups like that. So, but I think those could easily be taken out. They don't change the context of anything. And it is dark, it's different, it's edgy, but I think that it's not in a bad way that most of our community will take issue with. And I don't think, judging by the large number of schools, including schools which I think I think all of these schools would say that they have high moral values. Many of these would say they have significant Christian values. And so I don't think that if we do this show, that is saying anything about values that we do or don't have. I think these are complex characters that give our students new opportunities. There's plots and like other plots going on in the show at the same time. So I think that is fun to watch. It's not as simplistic as some of the other shows that we've done. And so I do think that our community will appreciate the show. They've continued to pack the house for Grease, for Little Mermaid. I believe that they will appreciate the humor and even the quirkiness of the Addams Family. So I do support our director and her request for doing this show.
Thank you, Director Bucks. Any other comments? Director Erdman?
Yeah. So I wasn't able to be here last week for the meeting, and I checked in with Director Klein, asked him if he could fill me in with what I missed, said there wasn't a whole lot. And then a day later, he said, oh, one thing we did talk about is we're going to discuss next year's musical next week. So that was it. I didn't hear what we discussed last week, and I didn't watch the meeting on YouTube to see. So I just got a copy of the play, I believe 2 days ago. So I went into it totally neutral, and I didn't want to be the ultra far right conservative that for the last 20 years didn't think we should spend money on the school or artificial turf fields. And, I didn't want to step on anyone here. So I just went in and I started reading the script. Unfortunately, Mr. Marlowe, I didn't read the whole thing. I stopped after 80 pages, but that was a lot for me to read, 80 pages. And honestly, I thought the reason I stopped was because I thought after 80 pages, I kind of had a good vibe and a feel for what this musical stands for. And the whole time I was reading this, I just kept thinking about the phenomenal show that I had seen on Sunday when I came to our musical. And it was like incredible audience participation. Like, I'll bet you there was probably a third of the crowd seemed like they were little kids. And in certain scenes, they were waving little sparkly things that were kind of making the room glow. It was just really neat seeing all the positive vibe. And as I was reading this, I was thinking like, geez, how would today's crowd that I saw kind of be interacting with this? And I don't know, I just didn't like the negative vibe. Like some of the things I didn't really, kind of made me cringe. There's a scene where they talk about I believe the daughter says like she needs to go kill her brother first. And I know things can be said in jest. I forget if it said at one point killing myself too, but I definitely remember the killing my brother. And I just remember I've had a talk with my boys about this when they were mad, like I'm going to kill Cade, or Cade one time was upset and he was so upset that he said the phrase, I should just kill myself. And I don't know, it's not funny to me at all. So when knowing I've had these talks with my family, like, hey, this isn't the way we talk. We don't even ever think of things like that as as a way to deal with things. The other thing that caught my eye was they were talking about some of the things with with the marriage, upcoming possible marriage, and there was a reference to prove their passion, they would have sex at least 3 times a week. Didn't say the word sex, but I forget the exact word, but 3 times a week to prove their passion. And I get it, that would be funny. I think it'd be funny maybe if there weren't going to be elementary age kids watching this. So those were just some of the things that stood out to me. I can tell you this, if we did this musical, I'm sure it would be phenomenal. Like, I think our director's unbelievable. It was so neat at the end watching when she talked about all the kids. I felt like I was like at a football banquet when the seniors are crying with their coach. Like, you could tell those kids and the staff poured in so much heart and soul for the last 3 months working with this. So I'm sure they would knock this out of the ballpark, and they do a great job. And I don't want to micromanage because I'm sure it would be done professionally, but I don't know if I just think, in my own opinion, there's a lot of other great musicals or great scripts that we could choose from. And just at this time with our climate and culture, I'd like to see a different one picked out, just because there are many other ones that could be chosen from. And I appreciate everyone's opinion. Director Bucks, you did a great job. Listening to you, I was like, man, she has like great points, honestly. So I'll vote the way I vote. Not that I, whether it's right or wrong, I have one vote. It's my opinion. And I would like to see us just go in a different direction.
Thank you, Director Erdman. Any other comments?
I'll just keep it really brief. But I think what makes this difficult is what Director Erdman just talked about. I mean, I don't want to micromanage. I don't want to not put my support behind our wonderful staff that has spent a lot of time and effort in choosing this. But I also had the same experience of sitting next to small children who were enjoying this and who were very excited about the current or musical we just did. And I just don't see that quite happening as if we would move forward in this direction. So as much as I don't want to undermine anybody, because I certainly value our staff and think the world of them, I'm going to have to vote no.
Thank you, Director Murray. Any other comments?
I
Want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak first before anyone
can
speaks
wait.
again. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Director Bucks.
Okay, sorry. I wanted to point out, because of the many comments about this being dark, I do think that there are some really great themes in this show. And they're good themes mixed with humor. So at one point in the show, Alice, who is the boyfriend's or fiance's mom, she talks in rhymes. And she's talking about her rhymes, and she says, and they're always about the one thing everyone needs and so few have. And Morticia says, healthcare. And Alice says, why love, of course. Emphasizing the importance of love. There's songs entirely about love in the musical. At one point, Grandma was talking about her potions, and Pugsley was not understanding what she was saying. And Pugsley says, I don't understand your references. Grandma says, well, stop the texting and pick up a book once in a while. Now quit whining about your sister. Start thinking about you and how you're going to live your life, which I thought was a good thing that Grandma was teaching him to focus on himself rather than what his sister is doing. At one point, Morticia sings a song about secrets. Secrets are the enemies of passion. Speaking true will get you through the day. Truth is not a thing that one should ration, but I think you think of it that way. Never keep a sin inside the closet. Always give the facts a fighting chance. Every time you do, it's a deposit in the long-term life of your romance. And then this is more funny than it is like a great lesson, but I thought it was cute at the end. Wednesday was asking her mother's blessing upon their marriage, and she said, can we have your blessing? And Morticia says, of course, may you have many children and may they give you as much grief as you've given us, which I know I've heard before. So I don't think that our community would be appalled by the show, but everybody gets their vote.
Thank you. I think I will just say, I think you've all made some very excellent points. Director Bucks, I think when you said anyone can find anything in a musical to be offended by, I completely agree with you. I went through looking at the script with the most sensitive eye I possibly could. And I used sticky notes to tab it. And I found 40 things that I think somebody could find offensive. At the end of the day, I'm not personally offended by it, except for the theme about people from Ohio being the problem. That was the only thing that I personally found offensive. I share Director Erdman's thought that, you know, well, first of all, we would knock this play out of the park, I'm sure. Secondly, I know that I'd enjoy seeing this play in a community theater or some other context. But when it comes down to it, we're not a community theater, we are a school. And while in my personal life, I may be fairly close to free speech absolutist in this context, I think it's a little different. There were a few, well, so I want to say another thing too. A lot of you have said how excellent the musical staff is, and Mrs. Bomberger is fantastic. And Director Bucks, you mentioned Grease. I don't think there's a play with a worse theme than Grease. And we performed it in an excellent way. And Mrs. Bomberger did a fantastic job of modifying it to meet what we believe is community standards. I think it was very well done. If you take all of the individual things in this play, I think she could modify quite a few of them. Some have been mentioned. But there's a few things that are particularly troubling to me. There's a critical scene in the play that is essentially about masochistic torture, and it's a key point in the play where the climax moves on from that point. That's a little disturbing to me. Could we take that whole scene out? It's certainly possible, but the fundamental thematic element to it for me that I could see was moving towards darkness, embracing death, and embracing despair, embracing the pain. Again, I see that it's lighthearted. I see that it's whimsical. I see the humor. The humor is it's adult humor. There's sexualization of some of the characters that gives me pause, but in talking with my wife, I'm reminded that it's almost impossible to find a play that doesn't do that in some regard. It is pervasive throughout this play, though. So I think those are some things that are problematic to me. In addition to a line about shooting somebody with an M16 performed by students in a school. Again, that line could be changed, but I think there's enough that is thematically dark and hard for me. I think the conclusion that I have to draw is that if a number of school directors for this community view this as being potentially problematic for the standards of the community, then I think that's probably a good enough reason for us to go in a different direction. We do represent the community. We represent all voices and all perceptions of the community. I think this is probably a great play. I'm sure the other schools have performed it in a fantastic way. I agree. I think there's a good element of our community that would find this to be fantastic. I also don't want to hamstring, our teachers. I think we trust them to pick good plays, but at the same time, I think if a large number of directors representing this community find trouble with the play, I think that's probably a good enough reason to go in a different direction. Any other follow-up comments? If not, then we'll move to a vote. Mrs. Martin, may I please have a roll call vote?
Yes. Bucks,
Yes.
England,
No.
Fowler,
Yes.
Williams,
No.
Murray, Klein,
No.
Erdman, Marlowe,
No.
Nom,
No.
2 yes, 7 no, motion failed.
Thank you.
Okay, 9.2, this one will be easier. It's the Lebanon Valley College affiliation agreement between us and them for your annual approval.
Any questions?
9.3, actually, I'm going to table, we're going to table 9.3. We discovered, as with many things PDE related, the PDF file that has attachments were not active. They're active when you look at them on site. They're not active when you look at it through board docs. So you therefore couldn't see the attachments. Well, it's unfair to ask you to approve this without the attachments. Therefore, we will email all the attachments for you to look through. This is every 5 years. Kelly, do you want to, you just want to talk anything about it? It's every 5 years. You work with the guidance counselors and to write this plan that goes to PDE. Am I missing anything that you wanted to? So we will get all those attachments active and to you to look at. So I'm asking that we table 9.3 till next meeting. 9.4 is actually an update on the high school co-curricular. It actually there is no middle school Bible club this year, just due to lack of students. However, there is a high school, so it should switch. It's listed as middle school. It should be a high school. So that change was there for you. And then 9.5, one of our first grade teachers has an opportunity to go work for IU 13. And so she's going to take that opportunity. Happy for her to get that position. Mrs. Yost will be resigning effective May 10th.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions on those items that were just discussed? And again, just as a reminder, it'll be 9.2, 9.4, and 9.5. Any questions?
And just because it's on the agenda, just have a motion to table
thank
9.3,
you.
and I'm assuming till next meeting.
Till-
That work? Yeah, just so table to a time certain.
Great, thank you. Okay, is there a motion to table item 9.3? Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of tabling 9.3, please indicate with a yes or an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Okay, so thank you, Mrs. Say. So we'll then receive a motion to approve 9.2, 9.4, and 9.5. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve 9.2, 9.4, and 9.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving items 9.2, 9.4, 9.5, please indicate with a yes or an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Okay, we will move to the reports section of our agenda. This is item 11, change order committee. Director Bucks.
I don't believe we have had a change order meeting.
I don't think so.
since Last meeting.
Great, thank you. CTC, Director Klein.
Yes, the administrative director at the CTC, Glenn Meck, retired on March 6th. And we are filling that role with a Miss Andrea Goller. She was our assistant administrator for programs. And in the near future, she'd like to come around and visit each of her county school districts. So hopefully we can set that up and you'll get to meet Andrea.
Thank you. Good report. IU 13, Director Murray.
I have just a short report. I did receive their budget in the mail today, actually. So if anybody would like to take a look at their rough draft of their budget, it's as interesting as budgets get. So you're welcome to look at that. I have that on me today. And that's the end of my report.
Great, thank you. Legislative Liaison, Director England.
So last month I talked about the school funding piece, and that decision was handed down, and we had an update tonight. You were much more thorough than my one-page report. But for those of you who may not have heard, the Commonwealth Court handed down the decision that Pennsylvania school funding has not provided students with the education that the state constitution entitles them to. It was a nearly 800-page decision, and they chronicled the condition of the schools, highlighting aging buildings, outdated textbooks, and inadequate classroom space. So it was determined things weren't good, what has not been determined by the ruling is specifically how it should be fixed. And so it will be interesting to watch how this unfolds. Some states have really leaned into it and done a great job of taking that recommendation and running with it. Other states have kind of floundered. So it will be interesting. I think one of the things I found in my research is, if it's still correct, Pennsylvania is the second highest state in terms of how much we spend per student per year. That may have changed, but I don't know that it's a matter so much of funding. The big issue with this is it's not equitable. The richer districts tend to get a lot more money, and so it's difficult to for the lower income districts to raise the money they need. So stay tuned.
Great. Thank you. Good report. PSBA liaison, Dr. Bucks.
Just a reminder that PSBA Advocacy Day is Tuesday, April 18th. You can attend in person at the Capitol or virtually, and they will, if you RSVP, they will arrange for you to meet with our legislators.
Great. Thank you. Good reports. Is there any new business for this evening? Okay, hearing none. Direct you to item 13, dates to remember. Nothing super significant except the April 7th to 10th Easter break. I think everyone will be looking forward to that. Anything else for the good over the order? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please indicate with a yes or an aye.
Yes.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion is adjourned. Thank you.